The hallway smelled like carpet cleaner and rain, and Ethan Mercer already knew he shouldn't be there. He stood outside room 1408, his knuckles hovering inches from the door, his pulse thudding so loud it felt like it might give him away. He hadn't planned this. He hadn't even meant to come upstairs. But the unanswered calls, the short messages, the way her voice had changed over the past few weeks had pushed him here, step by step, until turning back felt harder than moving forward. Inside that room, a conversation was happening that would change everything. Ethan was a single dad first and always. After his wife died suddenly 8 years earlier, life had stopped being about dreams and started being about duty. Morning lunches, bedtime stories, scraped knees, and silent prayers at night. His daughter Lily was 12 now, perceptive and gentle, the kind of child who noticed when adults pretended they were fine. Ethan had promised himself that anyone he let into their lives would have to be honest, steady, and safe. That was why he had fallen for Claire. Claire Dawson was composed, successful, and warm in a quiet way. She worked in corporate strategy, traveled often, and lived out of a suitcase half the year. Still, when she was with Ethan and Lily, she was present. She listened. She remembered small details. She never treated his fatherhood like baggage. For the first time since his wife's death, Ethan allowed himself to believe that maybe life wasn't done surprising him. Distance was their first challenge. Claire's job meant missed birthdays and video calls instead of dinners. Ethan told himself love was flexible. Then came the second challenge. Claire's reluctance to talk about the future. Whenever Ethan mentioned schools, neighborhoods, or long-term plans, she smiled and changed the subject. The third challenge was fear. His fear of being alone again. That fear was what brought him to the hotel. Ethan knocked. The door opened halfway, and the sound of voices spilled out. A man's voice. Come. Familiar in the worst possible way. Ethan pushed the door open. The conversation inside stopped him cold. Claire was standing near the bed, her face pale, her eyes wide. A man in a tailored jacket turned toward Ethan, confusion flickering across his features before something harder replaced it. Recognition. They weren't touching. Nothing about the scene was dramatic or explosive. And somehow, that made it worse. Ethan didn't shout. He didn't demand explanations. He just stood there, feeling the weight of 8 years of restraint, hope, and exhaustion settle into his bones. I didn't know you were coming, Claire said softly. I didn't either, Ethan replied. His voice surprised him. It was steady. Almost distant. The man spoke next. I'll give you two a moment. He walked past Ethan without another word, the door clicking shut behind him. Silence filled the room. Ethan sat in the chair by the window. How long? He asked. Claire closed her eyes. Longer than I should have let it go. The truth landed between them, heavy and unavoidable. She explained. The pressure of her job. The fear of choosing one life and losing another. How she admired Ethan's certainty, his devotion to his daughter, and how it terrified her. She had never learned how to be someone's anchor. Ethan listened. That was another challenge. Listening without defending himself. Without minimizing his pain. I didn't come here to fight, he said finally. I came because I needed to know if I was asking you to be someone you're not. Claire's voice broke. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. Ethan nodded. In that moment, something shifted. Not relief. Not peace. But clarity. They talked until the sky outside turned pale. About love that arrives too early or too late. About how caring isn't always enough. About how protecting a child sometimes means walking away from what you want. When Ethan stood to leave, Claire reached for his hand and then stopped herself. I'm sorry, she said. I know, he answered. And he meant it. The drive home was quiet. When he reached his apartment, Lily was asleep on the couch, a book fallen open on her chest. Ethan covered her with a blanket and sat beside her, letting the stillness do its work. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Lily asked questions. Ethan answered honestly, without bitterness. He focused on routines. Soccer practices. Homework nights. Laughter where he could find it. Slowly, he learned another lesson. That love isn't proven by endurance alone. That staying isn't always the bravest choice. Sometimes leaving is. Months later, at a school fundraiser, Ethan found himself laughing with another parent. No sparks. No drama. Just ease. He didn't rush anything. He didn't promise anything. He simply allowed life to move forward. Because the night he arrived unannounced at that hotel room taught him something he would carry forever. The conversations that stop you cold are often the ones that save you. And choosing honesty, even when it hurts, is the strongest example a parent can set.